more famous than him at Super Bowl Radio Row. I mean,
oh shit!
People know we're doing this.
Michael Carter.
It's a weird take.
No, Dwayne was there. Remember at Walmart.
Oh, that's
Just gonna assume the mics are hot.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, all right.
I'm wearing a pot on my head
What?
in this video.
Hey, this thing is back. Hope you feel good about that. I know we do. I'm talking because, as you can see, we're split squatting it a little bit, and Stugotz is totally distracted by the New York Mets playoff game going on.
Good angle. Must win, Mike.
Good angle for him.
So
too.
distracted that he has selected the worst possible angle for him.
How's your thing zoomed in more than ever?
What do you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm zoomed in. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how to fix it. I don't care. I'm watching my third Met game of the year right now, Billy.
Do you see yourself to at least try to center your face?
Okay. Is that better?
There you go.
This is great advice.
I mean, listen, the way I have my TV set up, there's only a certain angle I can watch it at. I have to be into this game. I was not into game one. I was very into game two. I do believe that fans can really help their team just by the way they watch the game, focus on the game, and concentrate on the game. And so I stand every time there's two strikes on a hitter. I don't know half the Mets' name, but I clap with the rest of Citi Field. It's amazing. Yeah. I'll be doing it during the show. This is a big game, the biggest of games. I mean,
good
the biggest
crowd,
game on TV today.
Good crowd at the Mets game.
Oh, yeah, it sold out, Bill.
Before we go any further, guys, I want to talk to you guys about our friends over at Game Time.
Yes.
Football season's in full swing. We're doing here a football post-game show, but also baseball season's wrapping up, right? Great games today. Great games every weekend, really, right? And thanks to Game Time, it's easier than ever to be there in person. Stugotz, you could use Game Time right now. You could be at the crowd at Citi Field watching the Mets, even though this is a football post-game show. And we should be talking about the football crowds and how good the football crowds are. If you use Game Time, boom, look right down there. Download the Game Time app. Redeem code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. You could have been there at Citi Field watching the Mets with that crowd.
Personal endorsement. Personal endorsement. I actually used Game Time to go to the Chiefs-Bucks game last week. It was my first time using that service, and I didn't even know that they were going to be coming on as ad partners. Maybe I should have planned that out a little bit better. But let's
use the promo code.
I
might use the promo code to see Bad Bunny. Not Bad Bunny, Daddy Yankee. I know that that's not a football concert or whatever, but yeah, Daddy Yankee.
I was looking for Steelers Dolphins Sunday Night Football in a couple weeks.
Ooh, SNF.
Is that still going to be Sunday Night Football in a couple of weeks?
You're going to flex it out?
I mean, come on. And it's not even so much the Dolphins, even though we don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback then. The Steelers look pretty bad in Kenny Pickett's first start. It was a get-right game for the Buffalo Bills and Gabe Davis's ankle. But let's talk about the logo that is in Stugotz's off-center picture right now, which honestly, it's not even off-center because it's maximum sausage finger angle. So yeah. I'm happy with it. The New York Jets, we've been saying for weeks, they have a lot of good weapons, and you're still trying to figure out if you have a quarterback. Today was a step in that right direction, finally ending your losing streak inside the division. Stugotz, are you a cocky Jets fan today?
I am a cocky Jets fan today because that was a big win, 3-2.
Skylar Thompson.
Listen, I don't want to hear about it, okay? When you have been as bad as we've been for 40 years, Chris, I don't care who plays quarterback for the Dolphins. Okay?
3-2.
You were in the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row, 5 years ago. I mean,
no, it wasn't 5 years ago. It was 8 years ago with Mark Sanchez, and we went to back-to-back AFC Championship games. You're right, but I don't care who's playing quarterback. The Jets haven't had all this success where I care about who I beat. And so at 3-2, here's the thing. Mike is right because the last couple of drafts have been really good. And what I see with the Jets roster is a bunch of young guys making plays every single Sunday. I don't know if I have a coach. I definitely don't know if I have a quarterback. But what I do know I have is talented young players. And I think it's a place because it's New York, the biggest market. I think free agents would want to play for this team. But I don't know if I have a coach, and I definitely don't know if I have a quarterback. Well, I have no idea.
The last time you had, it wasn't necessarily a free agent, but Tyreek Hill, it was reported this week, chose the Dolphins basically because he didn't want any part of the New York State taxes, and he was matched up against Sauce Gardner, who had really great statistics. If you look at some of the advanced stuff, he's a shutdown corner this early in his career. That was a really tough assignment, and he absolutely aced it. But Chris, a lot of Dolphin fans are taking that attitude because it was against Skylar Thompson. It shouldn't have been.
I just love that I got to text because every Dolphins fan has someone in a group chat that's been a big Skylar Thompson guy. So it was just good to be able to shut that narrative up for a little bit. But
he looked great in the preseason.
He was.
He
was the best in the league in the preseason.
This is a nothing game as far as assessing the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins are 3-2. They have Tony. They almost called Tony in the first quarter to play quarterback for them because of how that's just a joke, little Billy.
Yeah, it was a bad one though.
Low level quarterback, Tony. I was trying to think who could I use, and Tony was like the guy.
Do we think Tony's actually good at anything athletic? I mean, I know he tells tales, but
he's not as good as Juju is as picking a background.
Oh,
he's
my
definitely
God.
not. I mean,
iconic.
Always winning.
That's a deep pull there for the most observant fans right there. I'm not even going to spoil it right there. But this was the start of this new concussion protocol, and we see that it has some serious ramifications as Teddy Bridgewater passed all the concussion tests on site, but because the spotter saw him kind of lose his balance a little bit, that's it. Pulled from the game.
That was fitting. That was fitting that it happened to us. It was just like, you know what? I'm not like, I sat back. I was just like, I get it.
Did you find it to be comical at all, Mike? Because this is the team, the organization that was willing to play a quarterback after he stumbled around against Buffalo, put him back in that game, then played him a second game in 4 days. They played 2 games in 4 days, and Teddy Bridgewater goes out with a concussion today on something that seems, when you really compare it to the hit that Tua took, both those games. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
And then the Brady hit.
And then the Brady thing.
Right.
Although I understand.
No, it's the worst call in the history of football. I mean, I'm serious.
I'm not going to defend the call. I guess I am going to defend the call. Like, there was a little extra pull to the ground there, and if we're trying to avoid,
Mike, he was playing football.
Oh, I understand.
He tried to kick the defender also when the defender was getting up.
I understand it was a bad call, but I'm just saying, like, the little extra, like when Brady was sitting on top of him, that little extra rollover is probably what the official saw. Foolishly, though, I disagree. But I do want to talk about Teddy Bridgewater being out for the game because it seems as though there's an overcorrection on the Tua thing, which is not something we really see all that often in that sport. It stuck out so much because we rarely ever see it. And now, if this is a protocol that's going to be in place for the rest of the season, and I don't know if it will be because we saw them just change the protocol with a snap of a finger after the Tua stuff, this is gonna rear its head during a playoff game, and it's going to be a big deal when you have someone like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes pass all the concussion tests, and they're pulled out by an independent.
They're not going to get pulled out.
You don't think so, Billy?
No, they're not pulling out stars. Braxton Berrios got rocked going into the end zone in his touchdown. They didn't even look at him. He was on a knee with a helmet off, shaking his head. Clearly, he got hit pretty hard. It didn't seem like they even evaluated him. Like, this seems like it's going to be kind of like, let's check now. Let's not check now. It's a quarterback. Let's see the quarterback. But they're not going to be taking stars out of games because of this, I don't think.
So, Billy, do you feel like that was the Dolphins overcompensating for what they did, their role in this whole concussion discussion, or because it's not the NFL is what you're saying? You're saying the NFL is barely looking at guys, right?
Well, no, I think the independent person is the one that said they saw him stumble and they ruled him out. So,
yeah, early reports are that was the spotter that saw him losing his balance, and it was exactly like the Tua thing, and we saw the exact same situation. It's funny that it happened with the Miami Dolphins. I do think that as long as this protocol is in place, they're going to run the risk of something happening like that, and then we're just going to overcorrect on the other side. And now I'm not sure. It seems as though Teddy Bridgewater, we'll wait to see if he continues to pass all of the additional tests. But that's it. The Dolphins were in that game. I know it was early on, but Teddy Bridgewater, all of a sudden he's out. You're down to your third string quarterback. Boom, you lose a game in the division. And if he's not concussed, that's a difficult thing to understand for that fan base and that team.
I feel bad for Teddy. Teddy has had very bad 3-minute spurts for the Dolphins every time he gets in. He had his one drive that he tried to take over for Tua that went horribly, and then Tua came right back in, maybe with a back injury, maybe with the concussion. I still don't know, even based on the report, what happened there, but that's a story for another day. Then he played against Cincinnati, where that interception, by the way, we didn't talk about because of the whole Tua thing. That interception hit the ground that ended the game.
Yeah.
That the Bengals ended up going back and winning that game. That hit the ground. That should not have been an interception. And then today, Teddy was in there for one play, and there's a safety on another questionable call, whether or not that should have been a safety.
Bullshit call. No
Okay.
questionable.
Well, Billy, you're sounding skeptical because you don't think that the independent spotters will do this later in the season with the bigger players. But
I don't think Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers are coming out of a significant game.
So you think this is just like a dog and pony show? You're just not a fan of it?
I think that there's going early on. It's going to be a lot more conservative, and it's going to be a lot like let's kind of trend to being better safe than sorry. But like if it's the NFC Championship game and Tom Brady gets hit, I do not think that they're going to be taking him off on a ticky-tacky thing.
What would it take, Billy? Like what would Rodgers have to do, like physically, for them to actually take him out? Like how far can we push them?
It'd have to be really obvious, right? That's kind of the thing, is that like short of what we saw both times on the Tua hits, right? People are getting hit all the time and getting concussed, and we don't realize it. So unless it's like very obvious, do you guys think that they're going to take out like Brady's or Rodgers?
Like human nature, as time goes on, it'll get lessened, right? It happened last week, so everyone's going to be heightened, like totally nervous about it. And as the weeks go on, it's going to just get right back to it. By the playoffs, nobody like Brady will be playing through that in the playoffs.
Juju, I want to go to you just because of that background here, but you have the neon green light, all right, bud? Anytime you want to chime in, we're gonna bow to the red bottom shoes over there. Right.
Absolutely. I'm hearing y'all and clipping y'all and getting these juicy points, you know what I mean, for the socials as well. And seeing the Mets as well.
Yeah, get this point. They're down 2-0 already, Mike. They're down 2-0 already. Fire Buck Showalter. I don't want to hear about it. I mean, what a major disappointment this entire season has been. Unless they come back to win this game.
This can't be a Mets live in-game pod because we're dropping it.
It might be, Mike. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Bassett's out there. He's throwing up 84-mile-per-hour pitches straight down the middle. I haven't watched the guy pitch all year. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce his last name. He's dreadful. A terrible decision by Showalter. Sorry.
It does appear to be an overcorrection on the concussion protocol. I'll tell you who's really thrilled about this: neck and spinal injuries. Because I've seen ambulances and people stretchered off the field more this season, and some of them have been because of concussions, admittedly. But I have seen more neck injuries than I can recall previously, and we're not going to have the overcorrection on that. It just seems, and Chris Nowinski, who's carved out a lane for himself, and he has the bona fides to do so. But I don't know if you saw what's happened to his Twitter account. First off, I understand you're trying to raise awareness. You're going to press murder charges. That shocks you and gets attention for this cause. But he's just out there giving hot takes now on how Mike McDaniel shouldn't be having Skylar Thompson as his lead blocker. I'm like, what is happening with Chris Nowinski?
He's frustrated. No, Mike, he's frustrated. He's armed, as Dan said last week, he's armed with more. I'm not saying what he's saying is some of it doesn't make sense.
He's very emotional,
loses
though.
You when he says that Tua should charge the NFL with murder. That's where he loses you, okay? But he is armed with more information, as Dan said last week, than anyone else, and he's been screaming from the rooftops. And let's be honest, there has to be an overcorrection because it's a dangerous game, and if guys are stumbling, like the optics on Tua, that was really scary. Like I remember it. It's the first time I was like super scared watching the NFL.
You said it though. It was the first time.
Yeah.
How often is that going to happen?
Well, Chris Olave got a really nasty hit today. Also,
he did.
That was a scary one.
Oh, and the director did not do the NFL any favors too, because they're like, "Hey, look, Chris Olave is okay. He's giving a thumbs up to the fans, and he had trouble putting up his fingers. Like he looked absolutely gone." It's a scary sport, and a lot of these concussions, like the Naheem Hines one on Thursday night, which is I'm still basking in the glory of that game. That also looked fairly innocuous. I'm not
a scary sport. You said it. It's a scary sport, and that's why I think Dolphin fans got defensive, and we were having these takes of trying to like. I think we could just say scary sport, right? Like the doctors, they don't want these guys. They don't want to put guys back out there when they're concussed.
Right.
It's just like. It's just a scary sport. We could just leave it at that. Yeah. Honestly. It's the best we have.
Football's
like
football.
A scary situation, Tyreek Hill attempting to tackle Quinnen Williams. Like that shouldn't be allowed. He should just be like, you know what? You go right on in there.
Just let him go right on in there. Yeah, just let him go in. But I think it's something the NFL needs to do because it is a scary sport and their safety should come first. I mean, Mike's probably right. It's going to happen during a playoff game and it's going to be a big controversy. I do want to discuss the Dolphins for a second because I think the Dolphins, like Chris, I think you should walk away feeling pretty good about what your team did. That was without Tua, no Teddy Bridgewater. As Mike pointed out earlier, you guys were in that game, and it's a talented team. You know it's a talented team.
The Jets are not a good team.
It got out of hand, though. Like, I wouldn't necessarily be proud of my team's effort.
But 1917, at some point, I think in the third quarter, like, it was...
Well, they missed a field goal that would have given them the lead.
Yeah.
Sanders, not as consistent this year.
I leave that game. I'm with you, Stugotz. I'm leaving that game. The defense is still good. We were on our third string quarterback. I think it's making everybody appreciate Tua. Billy says he feels bad for Teddy. I might feel bad for him, but I know I didn't get to see him, but I want Tua back. Like, I miss Tua, and I didn't
feel bad for Teddy. I hope to never see him play again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Billy. When you were saying that, Billy, you were talking about feeling bad for him. I was sitting here thinking, feel bad for him, but don't want him.
Well, he's also like a hometown guy, and this was probably his dream was to play for the Dolphins, right? And it hasn't gone well thus far. Not even like his fault. It just hasn't. By the way, you've been hitting the links. You playing golf? What's going on back there? That's not normally there for you.
No, I finally, after 6 months of TaylorMade, I finally got my irons from TaylorMade. Oh. Literally, this whole, shipping systems and
supply chain issues.
Yeah, that stuff. All that stuff. It got me I got him 30% off though because
Chris plays with clubs that are like 25 years old. So
not anymore.
Chris is by far the best golfer amongst us.
I haven't played with him yet.
I told him when he gets new clubs, like new technology, he's gonna hit the ball like 330.
I have it
ridiculous.
Now.
He's very excited about his clubs. Stugotz, to the point that we had like this. We had like this charity thing that we did a couple weeks back, and we went to Top Golf, and Chris went to the car and brought his driver out to Top Golf so that he could be hitting it as hard
I
as
love
possible.
that guy. I love that guy.
I hit one with the house driver, and I was just like, this isn't going to do it.
You can't bring your own clubs to Top.
I just got my driver.
You can't do it. You're not allowed to do it. It's like bringing a bowling ball to the alley. You can't do it.
Those balls are crap anyways, too.
Oh. Wait, you have your own ball. Do you take your own ball to the bowling alley when you like casually bowl?
I do have a bowling. When I used to bowl in a league, I do have a ball. Yeah, I have a ball.
Go get it. Let's see it.
What? It's not
Game Time wants us to show your bowling ball.
Yeah. Show your ball to
download the Game Time app and redeem code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Billy.
Hey.
I was getting tagged on a lot of Josh Allen stuff because you had to take last week. You had to take last week that Josh Allen is simply not good.
Yeah.
Now, you said that understanding that some day like this would come. Yeah. But it happened immediately.
Yeah, that's great.
Dude, he threw, and this may be hyperbolic, legitimately like a top 5 pass I've ever seen in the NFL.
Oh, Mike's top 5 passes.
One.
The second one,
yeah. I'm gonna get that top 5 token for you guys in a second.
Top 5 passes in NFL history.
Wow.
Oh
in terms of just like sheer wow factor,
right?
Everybody was talking about the catch because Gabe Davis and Minkah Fitzpatrick got in a tug of war, and it was a really cool moment. He hit Gabe Davis in stride. If you watch it back, like Josh Allen's on his own 35-yard line when he throws that. It would take. I mean, there are certain quarterbacks that it would take multiple throws to get that kind of distance in air yards on the ball. Josh Allen made that look so supremely easy. So, Billy, the floor is yours as someone who wanted to stake out the corner of Josh Allen, not good.
Yeah, I think what I said was Josh Allen sucks, and a lot of people didn't like that.
Wow,
and that was
so, Billy, you motivated him and Austin Eckler.
Yeah, it's a big week for my motivation. Here's the thing. A lot of people were tagging me in that, thinking like this would upset me or whatever, without realizing that Josh Allen is my fantasy quarterback. Yes. So every time Josh Allen does well, today, for example, he got me 43.66 points. I'm not going to get upset about Josh Allen doing well. It's simply not going to happen. I'm undefeated because of Josh Allen being my fantasy quarterback.
And now it explains
tagging me.
It explains why you were so emotional when they were having a couple off weeks.
I believe I said he sucks. He's done nothing for me in fantasy, even though I am undefeated. But I'm not going to get mad if Josh Allen does well. I hate to break it to everybody if that's what they want.
Josh Allen teams are doing well this year, for sure.
Yeah, man. Oh, my God. I saw, I don't know if you guys were watching the game, but they were like giving us like the all-time record of passing in a game. Like he only needs like 170 yards instead. It's like, guys, he's up by like 30 against the Steelers. He will not be passing in the second half. Like everyone knows that he's not going to break this record today.
Billy, why would anyone be watching that game? Honestly, even if you had him on your fantasy team, why would you be watching that game?
You know what I hate? I feel like, and look, we do our daily DraftKings fantasy thing. I guess it's weekly technically. Like our fantasy thing for DraftKings, I'm like the king this season of getting the people off by a week. Like I have them either a week too early or a week too late. This week, not that anyone's asking how I did, but I finished horribly. We expanded to 800 people from 600, and it filled up very quickly. I finished 722nd.
Ooh.
Why, you ask? Great question. Because I decided this was the week that I was going to ride the Lions, who have scored 8 billion points all season long. Every single Lion has a snowflake next to their name. I got 7.8 points from my quarterback, Jared Goff, who I never should have taken.
Nope.
Should have taken
Brown got
Zappy.
5.8. And don't get me started on Conklin for your Jets, Stugotz, who got me 0.0 points.
Sorry.
An atrocity. The only person who showed up for me this week was my friend Austin Eckler, who got me almost 40 points, which was half of my total points. Of course I took him.
I dropped Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill last week, and I started him last week.
A tradition unlike any other. The Taysom Hill game.
You saw his run, obviously the game-winning touchdown where they had 0 people on the field who were receivers or running backs, and it was very clear these are just giant humans who are there to knock people out of the way for him, and then he ran like 60 yards.
That was a weird broadcasting moment where he was like, there's a bunch of, and he's like, what? He's like, I can't say what I was going to say. It was like the analyst got caught in the air describing all the large men on the field.
Mike, did you feel like you were watching a game from like 2012? If you did indeed watch that game where it's Andy Dalton in a shootout versus Geno Smith. Like, what is happening?
I loved every second of that game. Nice little cover for the Saints too.
Taysom Hill again.
Taysom Hill. The Soups went 2-0 on the picks today. Shout out to the Soups at Michael Ryan Ruiz. We're presented by Game Time.
How do you not root for Geno Smith?
You have to. Like, I mean, I'm a Jets fan, and he was lousy as a Jet, and I'm still rooting for Geno Smith.
He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year.
He has to be.
He's been phenomenal, and I do want to give Taysom Hill some shine because he's been the butt of many jokes, and that was his greatest performance as an NFL pro. He recovered a huge fumble there. He was all they basically had at one point, and he single-handedly won that game against Geno Smith, who's turned into a really nice quarterback.
He's benefiting from everyone thinking that Russell Wilson is a cornball. Like he's benefiting. All the negative news that Russell's getting is going to Geno Smith.
I heard something today that I never in my lifetime thought I would hear. It was an announcer saying, you don't want to leave too much time for Geno Smith.
Dude, he was dropping dimes. Like the passes that he was throwing today, the windows that he was getting them in were insane.
The one to Tyler Lockett, one of the top 5 throws of all time. There we go. I realized that I should not have said that live because
it's very hard to do.
I think he had 2 to Tyler Lockett that were like just incredibly placed.
Yeah.
Like, man,
incredible placement. What the quarterbacks are doing this year, when Geno Smith has that in his locker. And it doesn't
behind
hold
Eli Manning.
Yeah, it doesn't.
What has he been doing on the bench for 6 years?
It's incredible. It's incredible that he was on the bench this long. And if you've seen the reports out of Denver, they're already starting the propaganda machine of Russell Wilson's a little hurt, and then you read the report. Oh, he's got a lat injury. He's got a sore lat. The dude just did back and biceps one day at the gym. Like, what is a lat made that decision? A lat made that throw to Stephen Gilmore?
Are you questioning what the Broncos are putting out there? Are you saying it's convenient that he has a torn lat?
I'm not even saying it was the Broncos that put that out there.
Did you see how hurt Kyle Brandt was? Like, dude, like Russell Wilson, just talk to him at NFL Honors, bro. Like, honestly, Kyle Brandt was so freaking upset about you walking past him with Sierra that he just like went in on you, and like the whole basis was every quarterback talked to me and Russ said no. So he's a horrible person. He's not genuine. He's fake as hell. It's like, dude, calm down, Kyle Brandt.
You do get a sense of people, though. You get a sense for people in those moments, though. I'm with him. He big time.
I loved Kyle Brandt's passionate take because keep in mind that's an NFL propaganda show. That is on the NFL Network. It is owned and operated. You don't really get takes quite like that. And I can assure you, if Kyle Brandt went to air with that, Kyle Brandt knows a hell of a lot more. I did like the example of when he was rolling through. You either need to be a great locker room guy or you need to be really good. And he listed 5 quarterbacks that were both excellent and good locker room guys. And he just said Aaron Rodgers, MVP. He just totally admitted that Aaron Rodgers is not one of those good locker room guys. But, hey, he's a 4-time MVP. But I'm with you. It was kind of odd that he lifted up that personal anecdote because it just seems like he's been carrying this grudge against Ciara and Russell Wilson for years.
You mentioned that you think that Geno might be a Pro Bowler this season. And before the season, we were trying to get Chris Sims to admit that Tua would probably be a Pro Bowler just based on the weapons that he has. Do any of you understand how the Pro Bowl works now? Because I have no idea how it works. It's a flag football game, and then there's just like competitions going on.
Yeah.
So like, how the hell does it work? Like, how are people still going to be saying no to the Pro Bowl? Or is 800 million
Not
people
Geno
still going to make
Smith.
the Pro Bowl?
Not Geno Smith. In this instance, Geno Smith will indeed write back.
Get there soon enough. I mean,
Where is it? Is it in Orlando still?
Not exactly sure where it is. And I'm old enough to remember, Stugotz, you remember when Robert Edwards tore his ACL playing like a deep football game, and now we've come full circle where the Pro Bowl is just one big flag football game. And I imagine people are going to get hurt in that, and we're going to have an overcorrection on that. But now at least you can be a true Pro Bowler and not what Mac Jones was last year, or not what Vince Young was, where you just become or Derek Anderson prior to that, where you become a Pro Bowler because 7 people in front of you ended up saying no. And that's how you have Mac Jones, who may not have a job when he comes back from injury because Zappy looks good. And Jared Goff, I know that people were buying in on the offense and it was cool to see his comeback, but Bill Belichick has your number, dude. Yeah. He looks terrible anytime he goes up against a Bill Belichick defense.
It's interesting that you brought that up, Mike, about whether Mac Jones will have a job or not, because I'm wondering what you do. And I'm serious here because Billy and I have discussed this with Golick. Like when you're in the locker room, the players want the quarterback to play that's winning football games. And so now Dallas is 4-1, 4-0 with Cooper Rush. And it hasn't been, it's not pretty all the time, but he gets the results and he gets the job done. And their defense is very, very good. And for all the criticism we give Mike McCarthy, he's actually done a pretty decent job this year with the Cowboys. But if you're in that, forget about being a fan, because I know what the fans want, and they want Cooper Rush right now. Like, give me Dak once Cooper is no longer playing that well. But if you're in that locker room, I'm wondering what you guys would want. Would you want them to stick with Cooper Rush? Because I think I would. Absolutely.
Well, we got onto this with Zappy. And I would say that Bill Belichick has shown you, after they gave Drew Bledsoe the largest quarterback contract in the history of the NFL for a 6th-round draft pick out of Michigan, like he's willing to do that. I don't think he would sweat the Mac Jones thing. The Cooper Rush thing is interesting because I think everybody here would agree. And I'm very high on Cooper Rush.
You were on it, Mike.
He's a very solid quarterback, but at the same time, I'm not an idiot. I think Dak Prescott is a better quarterback at the position. However, his style doesn't complement what Dallas is good at. They're a control the tempo, run the football type of team. And when you have Dak over there, the offensive coordinator is too tempted to use a Dak skill set, and you start getting away from what you do well. Can he play this style? Maybe, but Cooper Rush is excelling at it right now, and I think you got to continue with a hot hand, Chris.
Oh my God, no. Bench. If I'm Cooper Rush, let me just leave right now and never play again. You know how much money he just made himself if he doesn't play the rest of the season?
They're at Philly too next week.
If they lose it, if the Cowboys end up losing some games, the fans will be wanting him. He could go be the next Jimmy G and get paid for like being an unproven guy. I don't know. If I'm Cooper Rush, I'm like, take me out right now. This is as much love as Cooper Rush will ever get right now.
Brandon Staley's an idiot, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, such a dope. I mean, seriously, what
like that honeymoon phase of he's so smart, he's changing the way we do things. Like that's gone, right?
Yeah. And one of the worst decisions, by the way, I think before that, Jacoby Brissett with one of the worst passes and worst decisions I have ever seen. He could have glided into the end zone. He could have just fell down and kicked a field goal. He threw. It was a terrible decision by him, and an even worse decision by Staley. I mean, he had no business winning that game, Staley.
Stugotz, did you catch on when we spoke to Austin Eckler this week that aired on God Bless Football? Did you catch on? Because like you kind of asked him about it, and he said something that I thought was weird, where he said like, yeah, he's getting better at coaching. Like he's figuring it out this year. And it was kind of like, wait, because you asked him like, did you like that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, year 2 though, he's getting better at it, which makes me think like, I don't know that his team was on board with a lot of these things. And I thought that maybe that he was kind of implying like he thought some of those were strange decisions last year.
Mike, I asked him like, hey, when he decides to go for it on 4th down, are you guys in the huddle ever like, what the hell are you doing? Dude, enough going for it on 4th down.
Two Eckler interviews ago when he was on our show, he kind of admitted that remember there was that close-up after that Raiders game, that final Sunday night where if the Chargers simply played for the tie, they would have gotten into the playoffs. And he was talking to the Raider player, and the Raider said, yeah, we were going for the tie, but that timeout made us change things. And so Brandon Staley's decision-making last year certainly cost the Chargers a playoff spot last year. And it ended up working out because he went up against Jacoby Brissett. And the Browns are a very curious team. They could have lost week 1. They made that kick there. But they could also be undefeated if you look at their games right now. If they just keep treading water like this, I mean, if you look at all the quarterbacks that were acquired this offseason, there's a lot of buyer's remorse right now. Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, and the team that had the quarterback get handed an 11-game suspension is probably feeling the best about their quarterback acquisition. It's pretty gnarly to say.
Yep. I mean, but the Seahawks, they're happy, right? Like,
but he was on the roster.
I mean,
no, that was a rhetorical trick because Geno was on the roster.
Did you guys see the punt by them randomly? It was like in the first half by the Seahawks. Michael Dixon, I think.
Yeah.
It's like deep in their own zone, 4th and 9. He does like the rugby style thing, takes a couple steps to his right, and then just kind of jogs 3 yards forward and gets tackled. It was so weird.
What he was doing. No idea what he was doing. I want to talk about, you were talking about how if I'm Cooper Rush, I just walk away right now and I'm good.
Yeah.
And every time I watch the Rams, I'm kind of wondering why Matthew Stafford didn't do that.
Right.
Because
after winning the Super Bowl,
I'm telling you, he obviously entered this season injured. A lot of people wrote about that. He is less than. He was certainly less than what he was last year. And that team, it kind of jumped off the screen week 1, like, oh, okay, are they satisfied? Is this kind of like that Eagles World Championship of a couple of years ago where that was their window and they had to get it then? I'm kind of thinking that was the case with the Rams. They're not in a great salary cap situation, although they've found ways out of that and found ways to still add to their team. But Von Miller is gone. Matthew Stafford is a year older. He's more hurt. And even though Cooper Kupp is as unguardable as a player there is in this league right now, I hold them in such a God tier because every week everyone knows what they have to do. And Cooper Kupp still finds a way to get open. And I haven't seen that outside of the likes of Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. Maybe outside looking in, Larry Fitzgerald is a guy, no matter how hard you game plan, no matter how hard Bill Belichick wanted to take him out of the game, there was just no stopping. Cooper Kupp is that good. But also, if you look at his age, it's actually pretty surprising how old he is. I think that window for the Rams closed quick, Stugotz.
I do too. In fact, I think this will probably shock you. The Rams have the fewest points scored in the NFC, like the entire NFC. Like that offense that
with
won
the
the
Bears
Super Bowl a year ago. I'm looking right now. The Bears, I think the Bears
they
have
did
more
all right
points
today.
than
The Bears did okay today, but
Kirk Cousins tried to lose that game.
The Vikings are good, Juju. I'm telling you, they are good. I don't know about Kirk Cousins. We'll never know about Kirk Cousins, but the Vikings are a good football team, man.
Justin Jefferson's a hell of a talent, but yeah, Kirk Cousins tried to give that away, but I'm not sure if he just wanted to have it close in the final 2 minutes so he can show everybody that he's really good in that situation. But I was really surprised that Chicago, who is going to be, you thought Broncos Colts was bad. The Bears are going to be playing the Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football.
Woof.
I literally won't watch that one. I think that's the first one.
No, you're going to watch. You're going to watch.
Did you guys know
watch.
Carson Wentz? Did you have a feeling Wentz was going to throw a pick there at the end of the game?
He always does.
Well,
he always does in that situation.
Wentz is at his best, and I'm not saying his best is very good, when he just heaves it 75 yards. Because he can do that as well as anyone. But when he's trying to place a ball from 3 yards away into someone's chest, he just can't do it.
Did you see his quote? An interception the play before also.
I know.
Did you see his quote? Well, when it left my hand, I thought it was 6. When it left your hand, I thought it was 6-2. 6 the other way. Oh, that was such a bummer. Just run the ball. Carson Wentz, and I really hope someone pulls up his red zone stats. His red zone stats are terrible. It's just a disaster. It's the Jacoby Brissett thing. Right. It's a game-losing play. You cannot come away with 0 points. Other team has the ball in those situations. And Carson Wentz finds ways to do that every single time, Chris.
Yeah, it does. He does as my leg falls asleep because of this bowling ball that Billy asked me to get. And I'm just like, do I have to sit here all night with it? Or Billy, this is it. Can I put it down now?
What does it say? It says Storm. What is that logo on it?
I don't know, man.
Oh, proton
It's
physics.
just a ball. Like
Does it have your name on it?
No, my brother-in-law is a good bowler, so I just was like, send me a link for a ball, and he sent me this, and I bought it.
How'd you pick that one?
He's like, I just told you, my brother-in-law.
I don't know. I mean, they have different colors and stuff, you know.
No,
I got a stat of the day.
let's get it.
Did you guys know that on Monday, October 17th, a week from tomorrow, the Denver Broncos play Monday Night Football primetime again?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Brother.
Yes. Everyone thought that the Broncos were going to be good. And that Thursday night football game, it turned into like one of those sicko committee bad college football games. It was so bad. And now Michael's tried to get this point across, and he was not getting any buy-in from Kirk Herbstreit. But that was, I never wanted that game to end. It was so hilarious between Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson.
Does Al Michaels have the second most just freedom to criticize? It's Charles Barkley 1.
Yeah.
I think Al Michaels might be second on the list of the person
Kyle
that will
Brandt
just
3.
start.
Kyle Brandt. Yeah, definitely.
No, Al Michaels.
Al Michaels doesn't give a bleep, nor should he give a bleep.
Anytime it was mentioned how many field goals there had been, he'd been like, "Yeah, I know."
He was on the under. He was on the under.
Guys, are the New York Giants the worst 4-1 team in NFL history? That game, by the way, the Packers-Giants game, I'm serious. It feels like they played that game a month ago. I mean, it was this morning.
You can't really hold the one loss against him. It was against Cooper Rush. Everyone loses to Cooper Rush. So I came away super impressed with the New York Giants. It's the biggest upset that we've seen in London. I also believe it's the first time that a London game has featured two teams with winning records. And I'm bullish on the New York Giants. They were a mash unit. I mean, look who was their number one receiver in that game after the injury. Sims?
Darius Slayton. Yeah.
Like, they're out Kadarius Toney, who's been out for a couple of weeks. Saquon Barkley went into that game carrying an injury, added a shoulder to the mix. He's had an incredible comeback season. Shepard's done for the year. Danny Dimes, it took a miracle for him to just get out there. And on top of that, he had a hand wound that came up in this game, and he was bleeding all over his center's butthole. That was a really gutsy performance, and I can understand why Brian Daboll was that charged up. But my one main takeaway from that Giants game is whatever happened on the sideline with that player getting total rub down in front of everybody with half his ass out. I don't know if you've seen this video. I know outlets like Barstool put it out there.
I didn't retweet it. I was like, whoa.
It is so graphic. The dude's getting the inside of his thigh rubbed down by a trainer. He's helping his trainer do it. His ass is out for all of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to see. It is incredibly graphic. Put up a tent. Do something. Put up a towel. His ass was just out. They're children watching.
I like this game of assessing like the best 4-1 teams, worst 4-1 teams. I think Stugotz.
The Giants are the worst 4-1s. They have to be.
I think the Jets might be the worst 3-2 team. Stugotz. It's either that or the Titans. What about the Vikings are 4-1? Do we think the Vikings are
I think the Vikings are really good. I think
Vikings are 4-1.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
They're 4-1. They're really good, Mike. I would say the worst of the 3-2 teams, Chris. You're right. Is probably the
Tennessee or the Jets.
No, I would say the New York Jets. I mean, the Titans have been a 1 seed in the AFC the last couple of years and been to an AFC championship game. I would say the Jets are the worst of the 3-2s, no doubt, because you have no idea if they have a quarterback. No.
I think tonight's game, and most people are going to be watching this and listening to this after the results in hand, but I think we can glean a lot from it because you have the reigning AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals who find themselves tied atop a very bad AFC North against a Baltimore Ravens team that, if you want to talk about best 2-win team in the league, they have an argument because they are 2-2 despite having only trailed 14 seconds this season. You say that again. The Baltimore Ravens have 2 wins, 2 losses. Those 2 losses came in games that they have only trailed in 14 combined seconds.
Man.
Funny. That's a good stat of the day right there.
You can't have Chris Bassett on the bump in a must-win game, Stugotz. Numbers be damned. I don't care.
Didn't want
you can't
Bassett
have him out there, man.
Bassett
What are you
the
doing?
Bassett hound. I didn't want him there.
What is this?
Sniffing around, sniffing for losses. I mean, Jesus. I mean,
I've got
Max Scherzer was awful the other day.
Terrible. It was a terrible job by Showalter. Anyone who's watched the Mets all year, and you guys know I have, you would know that Max Scherzer, the last few games of the regular season, something was off. Wasn't pitching as well, wasn't finishing his pitches, and then he decides to trot him out there. Game 1, Citi Field. It's absurd.
So
what? Okay,
Let me ask you what you would do.
What the
So,
Grisham? Jesus, now Grisham's up. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You
Eye on
don't
the
want
ball. It's not a Mets post game.
you don't want Bassett. You don't want Scherzer. Who do you want? Taijuan Walker pitching? Carrasco?
Yes. Anyone but Scherzer.
You said
Let
you
me
were
tell you, Billy, this game's for everything. If the Mets win, they move on to the Dodgers. If the Mets lose, Stevie Cohen offers Aaron Judge $500 million to play for the Mets next year.
To
I mean,
lose.
for everything. I kind of want him to lose.
I wanna try something new here as we wrap up our first post game show of the season presented by Game Time.
Yes.
Please download the Game Time app. Use the code Dan to get $20 off of your first purchase. I want everybody to close this show out with a proclamation. A proclamation that probably won't age well by next week. And Billy had one last week, which was Josh Allen sucks. So I want you to try to shock
stand
the
by that.
audience. He still stands by it. My proclamation is, and I'll go first, I am this close to forgiving Nick Sirianni for his opening press conference. I'm this close. The Eagles are the only undefeated team in the league, although something's off in Arizona. We told you that earlier this week.
Yeah.
I'm still not feeling great about their chances. I'm not sure what a quality win that was, but the Eagles, who have a monster game against Cooper Rush coming up, they appear to be really good. They built out that offense with weapons to make a true evaluation on the quarterback. It's paying off. And Nick Sirianni, I'm kind of turning, and I think you might actually be a smart guy.
Oh, smart.
Yeah, I think he might actually be smart. Juju, what is
Please
your
say
proclamation?
My proclamation is nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Boom.
Boom.
I believe that's Boomer's proclamation.
Or the Titans. I really feel like the
I'm
Titans are the team that
revamping
circle
it.
the wagons. You know,
The
I
Titans
do.
are circling the wagons.
Yeah.
Stugotz, what is your proclamation?
All right, my proclamation here is. I'm sorry. I mean, they're down 3. I mean, this is a disaster. Fire Buck Joe Walter. My proclamation. We're getting Aaron Judge. My proclamation is this. Okay, Justin Herbert will never win a Super Bowl, ever.
Wow.
He will not win a Super Bowl. He'll be the Dan Marino of the 2020s. How about that?
It's a shell of an offense he's got working with him right now, and he got the win despite the midges invasion.
The
one
other
time
reason
a
I
year
did
that
it,
they
Mike, is
won.
you won't know if I'm right or wrong for 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
Get back to me. Let me know.
Yeah, you guys have job of Chamberlain on God Bless Football so much. We should have had insight on the Cleveland midges invasion, because once a year they swarm the way that they did on his playoff game famously, and that's what happened in Cleveland today. Chris Cody, what is your proclamation?
The official that made the worst call in NFL history will lose his job and get fired. It will make news that he has lost his job.
No way. That guy is like I don't know his name, but he's
Jerome
always there.
Boger?
Yeah,
Jerome
him.
Boger will never lose his job.
No.
He'll have
He's
a job
giving you
in
plenty-
Tampa forever.
He'll be
He's my
suspended.
guy.
He's given you plenty of
He'll
reasons.
lose a couple games. It's going to
Nah,
make news.
no.
He's
No,
You heard
it's
it
not
here.
an NFL Sunday without Jerome Boger having an echoey false start throughout the stadium. I don't want to live in an NFL world where Jerome Boger doesn't have an officiating job.
Mike, I think the guy's name was Brady Jarrett.
Grady Jarrett, right? The dude that took down Tom Brady.
Like the optics on that. You didn't feel bad for him. It's Tom
I
Brady. They're babying. They're coddling Tom Brady. The
I
Falcons.
don't-
You thought the game was over. The Falcons come storming back.
I don't think the Falcons are a great backdoor cover team, by the way. But I think I'm gambling again. I'm not going to defend the call because it was a bad call. I'm just telling you from watching the replay, I understand why the officials took that interpretation. I just think it's a bad rule. On top of being a bad call, I'm not trying to be devil's advocate, but I understand with the extra force that they applied to Tom Brady and trying to pull him down after he was already secured. I see where Jerome Boger made that bad call. I don't agree with it. Billy Gill, what is your proclamation?
Close
My
this out.
proclamation: Lovie Smith has turned things around for the Texans.
They're in the mix.
Oh, I was so close to trusting Trevor Lawrence too.
Keep an eye on them.
Oh, it's so close.
And
I
download Game Time.
Yes.
Yes.
Promo code Dan.
You
And
guys
happy
want
birthday,
$20
Mike.
And
My-
happy
my
birthday,
proclam-
Mike.
My proclamation is that your 37th birthday is going to be the best birthday year you've ever had, bro.
That was last year, I think.
Yeah.
How old are you?
The invite said 37.
Yeah.
What
All
are you
right, I
doing
appreciate
here, Lewis?
I'm producing your show, brother.
Did you come in just to wish Mike Ryan a happy birthday?
That's good
Yeah,
enough.
got one on a
Very
proclamation.
nice of you,
dude.
buddy. Seriously. Should we sing
Come
him
on,
happy
what are we
birthday
doing?
on the way out or what?
No.
Happy birthday.
Happy
It worked the timing. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Michael
Happy
Ryan. Michael
Okay, bye.
Ryan. Michael Ryan. Michael Ryan.